What's up, everyone? This week we tried to do a podcast and we spent about an hour just talking about all these really awesome topics, but our audio equipment fucked up, so we had no audio. So it was just us talking in complete silence on the playback. So that's, bummed us out a lot, and we were just going to strike from the record and try again next week. But I really wanted to sort of go over those topics again, I guess, and sort of expand on them, because I really liked what we talked about, and I thought they were all pretty interesting for you guys to hear. I mean, that's why you subscribe to the channel, I guess, to listen to what we have to say for whatever fucking reason. But yeah, anyway, 3 topics, I guess, were well, the first one was the one that Zach had, and he was talking about betas and how they're a good thing for the industry. He argued that basically these betas just give everyone like a wider reach, I guess, on games, and the games get out there, they get all the feedback that they need, and it goes back to the developer who can make a better product. I disagree with that. I basically said that betas are the new demo, except twice as shitty. So remember back in the day where you'd buy like a PlayStation magazine or whatever the fuck, and you got a demo disc, and you got 30 little games of demos, basically, of games that are going to come out pretty soon. And they were, pretty polished. And, for example, the God of War demo was, one whole level where you fight the Hydra. It was, the first level. It was pretty much like the end of the game, the finished game, sorry. I have to say, it was pretty, indicative of what the game was going to be. It had the same gameplay elements and stuff like that. But, with betas, it's sort of like a quantity of quality sort of thing. With demos, you've got the quality. You've got a small bit of gameplay, a small length of the game, but you've got that sort of polish where the devs have really said, all right, we need to fucking wow them here. We really need to show them that, oh, this game is really, really cool. So you need to play it and give a tiny little taste so they want more. But with betas, it's you have more, but there's less polish throughout. You know what I mean? There's less sort of level of oh, hey guys, this is a really cool game, we've polished up a lot so you can have the best experience. You're not really going to have that. It's sort of you're treating them to a sneak peek of what the game's going to be, but it's definitely not all the pieces in place yet. So you're not going to get the experience that the developer really wanted from the entire game. So I think that really demos and betas are pretty comparable, and betas are becoming the new demo. There's not an online game that doesn't come out these days that doesn't have a open beta or an early access or whatever. And I think that getting that sort of feedback back from the beta process is really good for devs. It's basically making your QA team the size of whatever audience you're going to get, and in that way it's also really good for metrics and sort of things oh, these players are getting stuck here, you better fix up that, especially because they got stuck here more than they got stuck over there, etc., etc. So they can sort of prioritize what they need to do. But I think that the word beta and the concept beta are really diminished in meaning these days. I mean, back when Minecraft started doing it, back when he released in dev, which is basically a tiny little chunk which was also randomly generated, but you couldn't spawn more stuff as you moved, basically. So it's a small little chunk you had stuff to do with. Back then, that was one of the earlier betas, I guess, and that was actually really good because people understood what a beta meant, because it was sort of a new sort of term, and they didn't go, oh yeah, it's a really shit game, I tried it out in the beta, it's don't buy the full game, because people really realize what beta means, but these days beta I don't think means the same thing as it does anymore. It just means early access to the game you're about to play. And people who play betas often don't report stuff, often don't give feedback and stuff like that. Instead, they go over to their friends and they go, oh, well, this game was buggy in this way and this way and this way, don't buy it. And I think that's more harm than good. So I think we talked last week on the podcast about demos and stuff like that, and the death of the demo. It might have been the week before. But as I was saying then, we talked about why the demo doesn't exist anymore, and how companies these days just can't afford to split their party in half like, you know, almost when they've finished the whole project, because that's a crucial time for them while they split their resources just to make something that someone can play for 5 minutes, you know. So that's sort of the death of it these days, but I don't think betas are a good substitute for it. I think that, yeah, it's just not very, yeah, as I said, just the name of beta is just diminished, and people don't really understand that anymore. So yeah, I'm just talking a lot about what I thought, because it was a few hours ago and I couldn't really remember what they brought up about it, but the general consensus was that, you know, betas are a good thing, mostly, but they do carry negative connotations these days, especially with, like, you know, all those Kickstarter scams and, you know, things that fall through, or devs that just leave the game, or devs that can't work fast enough or release what they say they're going to release. There's a lot of negative connotations being attached to it. I don't think it's going to move in a very good direction if it keeps going the same way it is. The next topic was Kim's, and basically he was talking about, is the cinema experience dead? Last week, I said in passing, you know, I don't watch movies anymore, and he thought it'd be interesting to bring up because he's heard a lot of the sentiment from other people. And I'm the kind of guy who just doesn't really watch movies a whole lot. I play a lot of games, I listen to a lot of music. That's like my primary forms of entertainment, I guess. And movies, I don't like sitting somewhere and not having to do anything for a while and having to watch something, you know, sitting still is not one of my strong suits. I want to be able to do something, I guess. Just why games sort of drew me in. And, you know, with music, you can just listen to it in the background of whatever how you're doing, and you can enjoy it. With movies, it's definitely a commitment, and I don't want to really make the commitment of actually getting, you know, driving over to a theater, sitting in a seat with a bunch of people who could just annoy me the entire time and watch a movie, you know, like, what's the point in that? And I would never just do that on my own. The last time I went to the cinema was like, I went to see The Raid 2 with a few friends, and that's the sort of environment that I think is good for movies, like, you know, seeing with friends. You wouldn't want to go see it alone. But then, even then, I would rather just sit at home with friends and watch a movie. Like, I don't think the cinema experience is fun for me. And so Kim thought it'd be interesting to bring it up. Basically, we just went over, like, Kim had a few ideas with digital distribution of movies. Like, the day they're released, have people be able to buy a ticket and they can just watch it online. So basically like a streaming online pass that they can just watch it online instead of having to go to the theater. So if they're ever going to bring out something that like what Kim proposed, where they, you know, stream it online the day it's released, they would have to do it completely and do it at a very competitive price. Otherwise, people are just going to, you know, one person with the $5, you know, pass will just copy the movie, record the screen, put it up on Pirate Bay that minute. If they were going to bring it out, they would have to be very smart about it. And I also mentioned to him, like, with the rise of the internet, like, I know that's pretty much before my time, but all the industries that were huge before the internet just still not really knowing how to adjust to it. So that's a big reason why piracy is such a problem with these industry, or a problem to them. It's just sort of like they are very mired in the idea that, you know, you can only steal things physically, and they need to start changing their policy with that. And that's sort of why Kim brought up that idea. Give people an option to actually watch something on the day it's released, so they don't have to go in and watch a movie in the cinemas. Because, like, how many of you guys, like, you know, oh, a movie came out, I've got no one to go with, I'll just torrent it. Like, it just combats that, basically. Because, you know, what's $5 if you're going to go see a movie anyway? But yeah, that was basically the end of the discussion. The last one was, I've been thinking a lot of like the horror genre and how that would work. I've been talking on a few forums about, you know, like how a horror game would work with another person, as in a co-op horror experience. This is more of like a game design topic, like how we would sort of go about it and sort of create the themes necessary to be scary while having another player in the room. Like, because the main theme, I think, for horror games is the loneliness and the feeling of being all alone with all these inevitable horrors and shit like that, you know, in a room with you. And I think once you have another player, you've got double the awareness, double the power, and you've also got someone there to share your experiences with, so it's less scary. You've got someone to watch your back. Like, that just defeats the purpose of a horror if you're going to have co-op. Like, notable examples are like Resident Evil 5, I think it was, along with the co-op, and 6, I think that also had co-op. And then also Fear 3, I think, had co-op, and that, you know, I haven't played that personally, but Zach brought up that he'd play that and it wasn't scary at all because, you know, they were just dicking around and then a jump scare happened and, like, they didn't even notice it. So, like, what's the fucking point? So I was thinking about different ways of actually making a game like that, a horror game in co-op, actually, engaging and scary and creating that atmosphere. And I think to do that, you need to shift the focus from the loneliness and the being alone, because you can't, it's obviously being known by the two players there, but like change that to the distrust, I think. Sort of like, you're not quite sure what the other person's going to do because you can't be in their mind, but you know what they're capable of doing. That's what I'm sort of thinking of. The whole premise of the combat and the mechanics between you and the enemies is that you would have a sanity meter. If you look at an enemy or something horrifying, or you get damaged or something like that, you'd lose some of your sanity, and if you lost a certain amount, you'd actually like stop functioning and you'd lose control of your character. So at the point of you getting too scared, the AI would take over for your character and like scamper off, and then you would just be able to see your character model just running around, trying to kill the other character model. But the AI would behave in such a way that maybe you couldn't tell that it's been possessed or not. And so that would be reinforced early on in the game, so you sort of have this sneaking suspicion all the time throughout the entire game, like, is this guy possessed? I don't want to have him behind me. I'm just going to keep looking at him, stuff like that. So it's sort of like the tension between, like, the distrust between both of the players, but you also need them to get out of this place, I guess. So I'm just sort of thinking about different ideas. If you guys have any games that have done it well, I know that Kim brought up Call of Juarez. It's not a horror game, but it also has like a distrust and sort of wariness sort of mechanic in there, where like on a certain mission, each player would have a side objective which may actually harm the other player or work against them, but they have to do it in secret. If the other player sees you wandering off, he's going to be suspicious and stuff like that. So sort of building that suspicion, that suspense and stuff like that between the two players, I guess. But yeah, that was just one example. If you guys got any other examples or any other ideas for what we could do with that sort of thing, Zach said, maybe it's an idea that we might turn into a game later down the track, and I'd love to do that. So if you guys had any ideas, or maybe thought about it in the past, or have any examples of co-op horror games, or just co-op games who have had that sort of gameplay, then put them down in the comments, whatever, and let me know. Yeah, I'll be annotating this one just like the other podcasts. I'll just have like our Twitter handles and skip to sections and stuff like that. It's just a little short one because I really didn't want to just have all our work just like go down the drain. It's so fucking annoying just looking at that screen and having no sound when playing it back, and knowing just wasted all that time. But yeah, this video isn't as good as the podcast was going to be because it's just me, and just I wanted to make up for that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, rate, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week with actual proper podcast. See you later.